Welcome to the Guide to AAIC series. These guides are meant to help you put your best foot forward as you think about your experience at the upcoming Alzheimer's Association International Conference. And in this guide, we'll talk about chairing a session. If you've been invited to chair a session, your role really is to set the time and to set the tone. What this means is that not only will you be the designated timekeeper to make sure that everything runs to plan, but you also want to make sure that you're fostering a very productive and very meaningful discussion between the panelists, so those are the speakers, as well as the audience, because they'll be there excited to listen to the latest research and may have some burning questions that you will be responsible for moderating and making sure everyone is involved in. So the typical layout of a session at AAIC is that they're 90 minutes in length. So this is applicable to the featured research sessions, perspective sessions, and toolbox sessions. Depending on the session, they may be broken up in different ways and also depends on how many presenters are included in the session. So if you have 4 presenters, typically 60 minutes are allocated for the presentations across those 4 presenters, followed by around 30 minutes for Q&A. Again, this is also laid out this way so that you have a bit of buffer to do some introductions at the beginning, but also a bit of buffer between talks as well for transition time, as well as, if someone runs over or under as well. But having this format of the talks followed by Q&A also makes sure that all of the presenters are included in the discussion that happens with the audience, and the audience have the opportunity to ask broad questions about the latest in the science to all of the panelists so that there can be a really nice and robust discussion. Similarly, for sessions that have more than 4 presenters, again, the talk time may be shorter, so up to 12 minutes, or if there's 6 presenters, up to 10 minutes. Allowing a good amount of time again for Q&A at the end of the session. Our team will communicate with each of the presenters how much time they've been allocated, and you will also be informed as the session chair how long you should be keeping these people to time as well. It's important that the session does run to time because people will be at AAIC will be coming to your session expecting to be in that session and then quickly move to another session because we have many sessions across the week as well as running in parallel. And also to be mindful that there'll be virtual attendees who'll be logging in at a certain time, expecting to hear that presentation. This also allows the virtual audience to think about their questions and submit them so that you get them in time for the panel discussion as well. Developing topic sessions are a little bit different. So these are late breaking abstracts that come in for session curation. Typically, these are about 7 minutes in length. Typically, there are about 9 presentations in the session with some Q&A time built at the end. But there are shorter developing topic sessions as well, where there may be up to 4 presentations, followed by a shorter Q&A. Again, the important thing to remember here is that you save the questions to the end to facilitate discussion between the presenters and the audience. Lightning presentations are slightly different. So these are 4-minute quick fire presentations. They can be up to 45 minutes in session length. It just depends on how many presentations are selected for this type of presentation. But the important thing to note here is that there's typically no Q&A. So the presenters will come, give their lightning talk, and then go off stage. And it's an opportunity for them to showcase perhaps a poster that they may be presenting later in the conference or elsewhere. So how do you plan for this? Ahead of the session, as a chair, you will receive a link to the session's presentations as well as the abstracts, giving you time to familiarize yourself with the science and the content. It's also a great opportunity for you to practice the talk titles to say out loud, because sometimes these can be quite long. But importantly, also familiarize yourselves with the pronunciations of the speakers as well, or write down if you need to make notes about checking in with the speaker before you announce their name. You also want to consider discussion points. What are the most compelling discussion points that you as the chair want to bring so that the attendees have a good discussion during AAIC and everyone walks away having had a positive experience and feeling energized by the new science that they have learned? And you may want to consider how you promote the session. Now, one important way you could do this is by shouting out to your networks that virtual registration is indeed free for ISTAART members. So ISTAART being our professional society. But you may also want to, promote this on your own social media. If you're using social media, using the hashtags of AAIC, typically that is hashtag AAIC followed by the year of the conference. Or you can even put this through your own networks in your labs, your institutions, through local newsletters in your labs or institutions, or word of mouth as well. Then, when you think about preparing for your session, typically we ask that you either arrive 20 to 30 minutes early, or if you're presenting virtually, you are logging in 20 to 30 minutes early to the session. It is important to note that we do allow sessions to be presenters to be virtual as well. So we'll be checking in with them as well to make sure that they are indeed logged in, and we'll have our technical team ready to troubleshoot if there are any issues. You'll also have an ISTAART ambassador to help you with the session. So ISTAART ambassadors are early career individuals who volunteer behind the scenes as an extension of our team on site. And they're usually found in their purple shirts. So there'll be one or two of them in the room ready with some paperwork for you, which includes the run of show, the details about the session, and all the housekeeping notes and so on. As the chair, you will take the session packet, which will have all these instructions to help you welcome the presenters. And coming early will also mean that you will have the opportunity to meet with the presenters and make sure that everyone is on the same page about when their presentation, what order their presentation is going to be, and for you to also make sure you can pronounce their names and know the correct pronouns, titles, and so on. You'll also then be responsible for reminding them that presentations follow continuously. So once they've presented, they're asked to come and take their seat on stage and wait for the next presenter to give their talk and so on. As chairs, you and your other co-chair will need to think about how you divide your tasks. So you can decide between yourselves which talk you might be introducing. Sometimes you, as a chair, maybe also giving a talk. So you may ask your co-chair to introduce you, and then you take the next presenter, and so on. And also make sure that you know exactly how you're going to introduce anyone who is remote. So typically, the remote presentation, so people who are not attending, presenters who are not attending AAIC in person, will submit a pre-recorded presentation, but they typically will sign in for the Q&A part to answer those questions live and participate in that panel discussion. An important note is it's important to silence any personal devices, whether you're virtual or in person, because that can interfere with the flow of you doing your session duties. So once the session kicks off, you welcome the audience. Again, just a reminder to make sure that you're starting exactly on time. And then provide introductions. Introduce yourselves as the chairs of the session, and then introduce the presenters one by one as they take the stage for their presentations. At the start, you'll also want to encourage everyone to use if they're virtual, to use the Q&A function online. But those who are coming up to the microphones in the room, to make sure that they state their name and state where they're from, but also maybe encourage them to mention who they're asking their question to as well. The chairs will follow the presentations along on the laptop on stage as well. So you'll be able to see that confidence monitor and see how things are going. And it'll help you listen in and make your own questions to ask at the end of the session, just in case things need a little bit of kicking off at the discussion points. But you also want to kind of think about what do these presentations have in common? So you can pull out broad overarching themes to summarize at the end of the presentation or the session what key takeaways should be for the audience. But logistically, you have to keep presenters on time. As chair, you want to be bold, but also be respectful. So if someone is really running over time, you kind of gently want to say, please wrap up your presentation as you've reached your time. And also there are cues for the presenters as well. So on stage, they will see a traffic light system where there's red, yellow, and green. Usually yellow is when they have about a minute or two up to their presentation, to the end of their presentation. Green is, you're well in the clear. But if their light goes red, which you will also be able to see, that means they have fully reached the end of their time. And so you really need to act boldly but respectfully as the chair to bring them to the end of their presentation. And once everyone has given their presentations, you want to thank the presenters and then make sure that at least one question has been asked to each presenter. Because we want to make sure that everyone is included as part of the discussion and is able to contribute their scientific expertise to our audience. It might also be useful for you as chair to provide further context to a question. So sometimes questions can be complicated or convoluted. So you as chair can take control of that as well and rephrase the question for attendees as well. So if you're reaching the end of time as well on your session, you want to say, we're coming to the end, so this is the last question we're taking. And again, very important to make sure that you're ending the session to the correct time. Our team, our ambassadors will be in the room as well, but also remember that our team on site, including our ambassadors and tech team, will need to prepare for the next session as well. So that's another reason why it's really important that you keep to time. Remote questions will be coming in through a laptop on the podium, which you will have full control and view of. So the in-person questions, you'll see people come up to the microphone and the microphones are usually numbered and you can call out the number and ask them to introduce themselves. But the virtual questions that are coming in, this is kind of a view of what the virtual platform could look like. This is an example from AAIC 23, but you won't need to, this interface is very simple to use. So when you go up to stage as a chair, our team will have pulled up just the page that you need to be on, and you'll just see the questions coming up. And if there's no questions, it will just say this statement, no questions have been asked. You will also be able to press this refresh button, and then you'll start to see the questions that are coming in. And once you've answered them, you'll be able to make those questions marked as answered so that they can go away. Kind of similar to other platforms that take a Q&A function. But all you have to do is just keep an eye out for these questions and read them out, mentioning that these are questions coming in from the virtual platform. There are many things that could maybe go slightly wrong as well during sessions. But, again, as chair, you want to stay calm and take control. Typically, if a presenter doesn't show up, typically, this is typical of a virtual presenter where they've shown the pre-recorded presentation, but they may not show up for Q&A. That may be normal because the conference may be happening at a time zone that they can't really tune into. But if in-person presenters don't show up, our ISTAART ambassadors will be communicating with our on-site team and be troubleshooting that very quickly for you. So it's important that you work with those ambassadors and our technical team in the room so that we can find you a solution. Virtual presenters may sometimes also lose Wi-Fi, or if the chair is virtual, they may lose Wi-Fi. So then it falls to you as the chair in the room to just wait briefly, and then if it's not resolved and our tech team are unable to resolve that issue for you, to kind of keep the session going until we can get things up and running again. You can also use the chat function in to connect with staff, and again use our nearby ambassadors to kind of get their help in person. And if problems persist and they're really not resolvable within the time, you can just apologize to the viewers and the audience. But just know that we have an AV support team, we have association staff and ISTAART ambassadors all nearby to help you have the best experience as a chair, as well as to make sure the attendees are having a good experience. And really, we encourage you to continue conversations beyond your role as a chair. So remind everyone that sessions are available on demand for 30 days. Share this information with, again, your labs, your institutes, so that they can tune in as well and, watch you lead this session. And also promote, again, on social media, especially if it would be nice if you can consider highlighting in early career researchers, because for some, this may be the first time they've been given a podium presentation at an international conference. And so it's, very important and exciting for them. So we really encourage you to support the next generation that way. And finally, a shout out to ISTAART, the International Society to Advance Alzheimer's Research and Treatment. I did mention ISTAART ambassadors. You're seeing some of them here on the slide. They'll be in purple, ready to help you facilitate your role as a chair. But also just want to make sure that you share membership of ISTAART with your labs and networks as well, because there are, aside from being an ISTAART ambassador as an opportunity for early career researchers, there are many other benefits like extended abstract submission and discounted registration for ISTAART members. With that, I'll bring this session to an end. And if you are going to be a chair at the upcoming AAIC, I wish you the very best. Thank you.